Tonight, you are born into a life that already knows your name. The air is quiet, soft with the smell of soil and dry grass. And somewhere beyond the low hills, Rome exists. But not for you. You open your eyes to a small piece of land, rough beneath your feet, familiar before you even understand it. Your mother moves slowly, your father says little, and everything around you feels already decided. Each morning comes the same way, the same light, the same tools, the same path from your door to the field. You do not question it yet, you simply follow. Your hands learn the rhythm before your mind does, pressing into the earth, pulling, carrying, repeating. Days pass without edges, blending into one long, quiet stretch of effort. You watch your father closely, the way his back bends, the way his silence grows heavier with each season. No one explains your future, because no one needs to. It is already here, waiting in the soil. And somewhere, very faintly, a thought begins to form. Not loud enough to disturb you, not yet. Just a feeling, like something slightly out of place. As if this life, so complete and unchanging, might be missing something you cannot name. The mornings grow colder, though nothing else seems to change. You wake before the light, just as your father does, stepping into the same field that has never asked who you are. The soil feels heavier now, or maybe your hands are beginning to notice it. You work beside him in silence, listening to the quiet sounds of effort, breath, footsteps, the dull scrape of tools. Sometimes you look at his face, searching for something, regret perhaps, or resistance. But you find only acceptance. Not peace, just acceptance. And that is what unsettles you. Because if this is enough for him, does that mean it must be enough for you? The thought lingers longer each day. You begin to notice patterns you once ignored. The same path worn into the ground. The same gestures repeated without thought. Even the sky seems predictable, returning again and again without surprise. And slowly, almost without realizing it, you start to compare. Not to other people, but to time itself. You imagine tomorrow, and it looks exactly like today. Then the next year, and the next. Each one folding neatly into the last, unchanged. Your hands continue their work, but your mind drifts just far enough to ask a quiet question. What if this is not the only path? You do not say it out loud. You barely admit it to yourself. But once it appears, it does not leave. One evening, as the light fades gently over the fields, you pause longer than usual. The work is done, or at least it is never truly done, but you stop anyway. Your father continues a few steps ahead, not noticing, or perhaps choosing not to. You stand there, looking across the land that has shaped every moment of your life so far. It stretches quietly, endlessly familiar, unchanged by your thoughts. And for the first time, that familiarity feels heavy. You try to imagine leaving it, just for a moment. The idea feels distant, almost unreal, like a story told by someone else. No one here speaks of leaving. No one tries. The land holds them, not by force, but by something softer, something harder to resist. Expectation, continuity. A quiet agreement passed from one life to the next. You feel it now, pressing gently against you, asking you to become the next version of what has always been. Your father turns slightly, calling your name in a low voice, and the moment breaks. You step forward again, returning to the path without thinking. But something has shifted. Just a little. Enough to notice. Enough to stay with you as night settles in. And as you lie down, listening to the stillness around you, the thought returns. Not as a question this time, but as a quiet possibility. Maybe you do not belong to this place as completely as you were told. The next day begins like all the others, but something feels slightly out of place. Not in the world around you, but inside your thoughts. You move through the motions, your hands steady, your steps familiar. Yet there is a small distance now between you and what you are doing. You notice things you never noticed before. How the work never truly ends. How each task leads quietly into another. How nothing here ever asks what you want. The rhythm continues, but you are no longer fully inside it. And that is when you see him. A figure on the road beyond the fields. Not from here. The way he walks is different. Slower, but not tired. He does not look at the ground. He does not carry the weight you recognize so well. A soldier. The metal on his body catches the fading light, just enough to draw your eyes again and again. He passes without stopping, without speaking, without even noticing you. And yet, something in you follows him. Not your body, not yet. Just your attention, stretching beyond the edge of everything you have ever known. For the first time, the world feels larger than your field, larger than your village, larger than the life that has been quietly waiting for you. And as the soldier disappears into the distance, a thought settles gently into place. There are paths that do not lead back here. That night, the field does not leave you. Even in the dark, even with your eyes closed, you can still feel its shape, its weight, its quiet certainty. But now, something else sits beside it. The image of the road. You replay it slowly, the way the soldier moved without hesitation, without looking back. It feels unreal, almost impossible, like a life that exists outside the rules you have always known. You try to return to sleep, to let the thought fade, but it stays. Not loud, not urgent, just present. And in that presence, something begins to change. The field no longer feels like the only option. It feels like one option. The difference is small, almost invisible, but it shifts everything. The next morning, your hands still work, your body still follows the same routine, but your mind keeps drifting toward the edge of the land, toward the place where the road begins. You start to wonder what lies beyond it. Not in detail, just in feeling, movement, change, possibility. And then, without warning, a quiet idea forms. If someone else can walk that road, then maybe so can you. You do not act on it, you do not speak of it, but the thought is no longer fragile. It begins to settle deeper, finding a place within you where it can grow. Days pass, and the idea does not disappear. Instead, it becomes part of you, moving quietly alongside everything you do. You begin to work harder, though no one has asked you to. Your movements are sharper now, more focused, as if effort alone might open something that has always been closed. You lift more, carry more, finish tasks before they are expected. At first, it feels like progress, like you are moving toward something. But nothing changes. The field remains the same. The hours stretch the same way. Your father notices your effort, but says nothing. There is no reward for doing more, only more to do. And slowly, that realization begins to settle in. Effort does not move you forward here. It only keeps you in place. The thought is quiet but heavy. You feel it in your chest as you continue working, as if something inside you is pushing against a wall that will not move. For a moment, doubt appears, small but clear. What if this is all there is? What if the road you imagined is not meant for you? Your hands pause briefly, resting against the rough surface of the earth. Then you continue, because stopping changes nothing. But as you move again, another understanding begins to form, slow and steady. If working harder cannot change your place, then something else must. And that thought feels different. The work continues, steady and familiar, but the feeling inside you has begun to shift. It is no longer just curiosity. It is not even hope, not yet. It is something quieter, a slow resistance to what repeats. You notice it most in the smallest moments, when your hands move without needing your thoughts, when your feet follow the same path without looking. There is a distance now, growing gently between you and the life you are living. You begin to see it as something separate, something you have been placed into, rather than something you chose. And that thought stays with you. Not heavy, just persistent. Your father speaks less these days, or maybe you are simply listening differently. His silence no longer feels natural. It feels learned, passed down like everything else. You watch him carefully, the way he continues without question, and for the first time you feel something you did not expect. Not anger, not sadness, just a quiet refusal forming somewhere deep inside you. You do not say it, you do not act on it, but it is there, growing slowly. And as the sun lowers over the field once again, you realize something simple, something that does not ask for permission. You do not want this to be enough. The field begins to feel different, not because it has changed, but because you have. Every step across it carries a slight weight now, as if the ground itself is holding you in place. You try to ignore it at first. You focus on your work, on the rhythm, on the quiet expectations that have always guided you. But the feeling does not fade. It deepens. You start to notice how little space there is to move, not just physically, but in every sense. Every choice leads back to the same place. Every effort folds into the same result. And slowly, without needing to say it, you begin to understand something that has always been true here. This life does not change. Not for you. Not for anyone. The realization does not come as a shock. It arrives gently, settling into you like the evening air. And once it is there, it cannot be undone. You continue working because there is nothing else to do, but your thoughts no longer stay with your hands. They drift again and again toward the edge of the land, toward the road, toward the idea that something else might exist beyond what you have been given. And with that, a quiet tension begins to build between where you are and where you might go. The decision does not arrive all at once. It forms slowly, almost without your awareness, shaped by every quiet thought you have been carrying. You wake before the light, as always, but this morning feels slightly different. Not brighter, not easier, just clearer. The path ahead of you no longer feels invisible. It feels chosen. You step outside, the air still and cool, the field waiting as it always has. Your father is already there, moving through the same motions, steady and certain. You watch him for a moment, longer than usual.
There is something you want to say, but the words do not come. Or perhaps they are not needed. He does not look at you. He does not ask anything. And in that silence, you understand more than any conversation could give you. You turn away from the field. Not suddenly, not dramatically. Just one step, then another, toward the edge you have been thinking about for so long. The road is still there, unchanged, stretching quietly into the distance. You do not know where it leads. You do not know what waits for you. But for the first time, that uncertainty does not stop you. It invites you. And as you begin to walk, leaving the only life you have ever known behind you, a single thought settles in, calm and steady. This is how it begins.
The road does not welcome you. It simply allows you to walk. The ground is harder here, less forgiving than the field, and each step feels slightly uncertain, as if your body is learning a new rhythm it was never meant to follow. You do not rush. There is nowhere specific to go, only away from where you were. The village fades behind you without sound, without resistance, as if it has already accepted your absence. For a moment, you expect to feel lighter, but you do not. The weight has changed, not disappeared. It now sits in your chest, quiet and unfamiliar. You pass others along the road, travelers, traders, people who do not look at you twice. To them, you are nothing unusual, just another figure moving forward. And that thought brings a strange kind of comfort. You are no longer fixed in one place. You are not known, not expected. The idea feels open, almost like freedom. But beneath it, something else lingers, a question you cannot fully answer yet. If you are no longer tied to the field, then what are you tied to now? The road continues ahead, steady and indifferent, and you follow it step by step, carrying both the quiet hope of change and the first hint that leaving is not the same as escaping. By the time the sun begins to lower, the road has already taken more from you than you expected. Your legs ache in a way the field never caused, and your breath comes slower, heavier. You stop briefly, not out of fear, but because your body asks you to. Around you, the land feels unfamiliar, shaped by different hands, carrying no memory of who you are. It is a strange feeling, to stand in a place that does not recognize you at all. You sit for a moment, letting the stillness settle in, and your thoughts begin to return. The field feels distant now, almost unreal, like something that belonged to another life. But it has not disappeared. It lingers quietly, not as a place, but as a pattern, something that shaped you more deeply than you understood. You notice it in the way you rest, the way you wait, the way you expect something to tell you what comes next. But nothing does. The road offers no instructions, no rhythm to follow, only direction. And that absence feels both freeing and unsettling. As you stand again, continuing forward, you begin to understand something small but important. Leaving behind a life does not mean leaving behind what that life has made you. The city appears slowly, not all at once, rising from the distance in shapes you do not fully recognize. Stone walls, taller than anything you have seen, stand firm against the sky. Movement surrounds them. People entering, leaving, carrying goods, speaking in voices that overlap and blend into a constant low sound. You stop at the edge, not because you are afraid, but because you are unsure how to move forward. This place does not wait for you. It does not adjust to your pace. It continues with or without you. You step closer, drawn in by something you cannot name. The air feels different here, heavier, filled with the presence of many lives moving at once. No one notices you. No one asks where you come from. And for a moment, that feels like proof. Proof that you have done it, that you have stepped into something new, something beyond the field, beyond the quiet limits you once knew. But as you move through the crowd, watching how easily everyone else seems to belong, a subtle feeling begins to form. You are here, but you are not part of it. Not yet. The city does not give you a place. It simply exists, waiting for you to find one, or to be given one. And as you walk deeper into it, a quiet thought settles in, almost unnoticed. Maybe freedom is not entering a new world, but being allowed to remain in it. The city does not pause to welcome you. It moves around you, past you, through you, as if you are already part of its flow, or not important enough to notice. You follow the movement at first, letting it carry you forward, unsure where to look or what to choose. Voices rise and fall around you, orders, trades, laughter, commands, each one sharp, purposeful, unlike the quiet rhythm you left behind. You slow down, trying to understand how anything here fits together, but there is no clear pattern to hold on to, no single path, no familiar routine. And yet, beneath the noise, you begin to sense something else. A structure you cannot see, but can feel. People know where they belong here. They move with intention, guided by rules you do not yet understand. You watch closely, studying the way they speak, the way they stand, the way they respond to authority. It is different from the field, but not entirely free. There are expectations here too, invisible but firm. For a moment, uncertainty returns, soft but present. You have left one life behind, but you have not yet found another. Still, you do not turn back. You keep walking deeper into the city, holding on to the quiet belief that brought you here, that somewhere in all of this, there is a place you can claim. You find work, though it does not feel like choosing. It feels like being placed. Small tasks at first, carrying, cleaning, following simple instructions without question. It is not so different from the field, only faster, louder, less forgiving. There is always someone above you, watching, correcting, expecting more than you can give. You try to keep up. You learn quickly, adjusting your movements, your timing, your silence. The days begin to take on a rhythm again, though not one you control. And for a moment, something inside you relaxes, because this feels familiar. Being told what to do, being measured by how well you do it. But the thought does not sit easily anymore. You notice how quickly you fall into it, how naturally you begin to respond the way you always have. And that realization brings a quiet discomfort. You left to change your life, but your place still feels decided, still feels given, not chosen. At night, when the noise of the city softens, you sit alone, thinking not about the field, but about something deeper, the pattern that seems to follow you. Different place, different people, same position. The idea lingers, gentle but persistent. What if leaving was not enough? The thought stays with you as the days pass. Not loud, not urgent, just present, like a shadow that moves with you. You begin to watch more carefully now, not just what people do, but how they move within the structure around them. Some give orders, others follow. Some rise, most remain where they started. And slowly, you begin to understand something that no one has explained to you. Movement here is not random. It is allowed, controlled,
Earned, perhaps, but only within limits you cannot yet see. The realization does not stop you. If anything, it sharpens your focus. If there is a way forward, you will find it. You begin to work with more intention, not just completing tasks, but observing, learning, waiting for small opportunities to step beyond what is expected of you. And when one appears, you take it. A task done faster, a command followed more precisely, a moment where someone notices. It is small, almost nothing, but it is different. For the first time since you left the field, the opportunity does not arrive with certainty. It appears quietly, in the form of a question asked by someone who does not know you, or need to. Strong hands, willing body, no ties. You understand what it means before the words are fully spoken. The army. A different path, they say, a chance to become something more. You do not answer immediately. You let the idea settle, turning it slowly in your mind. It feels familiar, like the road once did. A way forward, a way out. But this time you notice something you did not notice before. The choice is not entirely yours. It is offered, but within a system that already knows what it needs from you. Still, you accept, not because you are certain, but because standing still no longer feels possible. The transition is quick. Names recorded, orders given. Movement begins. You leave the city behind, just as you left the field, stepping once again into something unknown. And as you walk with others who have made the same decision, a quiet thought returns. Maybe this time, it will be different. The armor feels heavier than you expected, not just in weight, but in meaning. It rests against your body, firm and unyielding, shaping the way you stand, the way you move, even the way you breathe. When you first put it on, there is a moment, brief but clear, where something inside you lifts. You look down at yourself and see not the worker, not the outsider, but something else. Someone with form, with purpose. The others around you look the same. No past visible, no difference in origin, just soldiers. And for a moment, it feels like equality, like a beginning without history. You stand straighter, you listen more closely, you follow each instruction with care. This feels like progress, like you have stepped into a role that was not decided for you at birth. But as the day continues, small details begin to appear. Commands given without explanation. Movements repeated without question. Correction delivered sharply, without room for response. The feeling does not disappear, but it changes, slightly, enough to notice. The armor gives you shape, but it also defines it. And as you stand among the others, moving in unison, a quiet realization begins to form. You are no longer undefined, but you are not yet free. Training begins before your body is ready for it. The pace is constant, unbroken, leaving little space for thought. You wake, you move, you repeat. Instructions come quickly, and you learn to follow them without delay, because hesitation carries consequences you do not want to face. At first, it feels like discipline, like structure, like the beginning of something stronger than what you left behind. But slowly, something else emerges. Not in the actions themselves, but in what they require from you. You are not asked what you think. You are not asked what you want. Only what you can endure. And you endure, step by step, command by command. The others do the same. Faces change, voices blend. Individuality fades into function. You begin to understand the rhythm of this place, just as you once understood the field. Not because it welcomes you, but because it reshapes you. Your body adapts first. Your mind follows more slowly. And in the quiet moments, when movement briefly stops, you feel it. That same pattern returning. Different place, different rules, same expectation. You are here to serve. The thought does not break you, not yet, but it settles in, soft and steady, as if reminding you that this path, like the others, may already know where it leads.
The routine settles in before you fully notice it. Wake, move, obey, rest, repeat. Each day shaped by commands that arrive without explanation, and you learn to respond before your thoughts can slow you down. At first, you take pride in how quickly you adapt. You follow orders cleanly. You make fewer mistakes. You become reliable. And that word carries weight here. It gives you a place, small but defined. But with that place comes something else, a narrowing. You begin to notice how little space there is between one action and the next, how each moment is already decided before you step into it. Even your improvements feel guided, as if you are becoming exactly what this system requires. Not more, not less. In the quiet space between drills, you feel it again. That distance growing inside you. The same one you felt in the field. The same one that brought you to the road. You thought you were moving away from it, but now it feels like you have stepped into it again, just wearing something different. The mistake is small, so small you almost miss it yourself. A movement slightly out of rhythm, a response a fraction too slow. But here, small things are not ignored. They are corrected, immediately, publicly. You are called forward. The others watch, not with judgment, but with something quieter. Recognition. They have all been here. You stand still, waiting, as the correction is delivered. It is not just about the mistake. It is about reminding you where you stand. Your body absorbs it first. The sharpness, the control, the lack of choice. You do not resist. You do not speak. Because you understand now, resistance is not part of this system. When it ends, you return to your place without a word. The routine continues as if nothing happened. But something has shifted. Not outside, inside. You feel it settle into you, clear and undeniable. Your value here is not who you are. It is how well you endure. And as you move again, falling back into rhythm, a quiet thought follows closely behind. This feels familiar. You begin to see the others more clearly now, not as individuals, but as reflections. Each one moving within the same structure, shaped by the same expectations, carrying the same quiet understanding. Some have been here longer. You can see it in the way they move, smoother, faster, more automatic. They no longer hesitate. They no longer question. They simply respond. And for a moment, you wonder if that is what you are becoming. If that is what you are meant to become. The thought is not frightening. It is efficient. It promises ease, less resistance, less conflict inside your own mind. But it also carries something else, a kind of stillness, not the calm of rest, but the absence of choice. You watch one of them closely as the day continues, the way he follows orders without pause, the way he does not look beyond what is in front of him, and you realize he is no longer trying to go anywhere. He is already where he is meant to be. The idea settles into you slowly. You left the field to move forward, but here, forward may not exist. The first battle does not arrive with clarity. It comes as movement, as noise, as a sudden shift in everything you thought you understood. Commands are louder now, faster,
harder to follow, and yet you follow them without thinking. There is no time to question, no space to hesitate. Your body moves before your mind can catch up, stepping forward, holding formation, reacting to what appears in front of you. The world narrows into fragments: sound, motion, impact. You do what you have been trained to do, nothing more, nothing less. And then, just as quickly as it began, it ends. The noise fades, the movement slows. What remains is quiet, and the ground no longer empty. You stand there, breathing unevenly, trying to understand what just happened. You are still here. Your body is intact, your place unchanged. And for a brief moment, a thought rises, soft but clear. You survived. It feels important. It feels like proof of something, something that sets you apart. But as you look around, you begin to see the others, some standing, some not. And the system moves on, already reshaping itself around what is left. The thought lingers, but it begins to change. Survival may not mean what you think it does.
The days after the battle feel strangely quiet. Not because there is less to do, but because something inside you has slowed. You move through the routine as before, but your thoughts return again and again to that moment. The chaos, the stillness that followed. The simple fact that you remained while others did not. At first, it feels like something earned, like you have crossed a line that separates you from who you were. You begin to carry yourself slightly differently, more aware, more certain. The idea forms gently. Maybe you are not the same as the others. Maybe you are stronger, more capable. The thought does not come with pride. It comes with calm, a quiet sense of difference. But as the routine settles back into place, the system continues without pause. New faces appear, old ones disappear. The space is filled, the pattern restored. And slowly, the meaning of what happened begins to shift. You were not chosen. You were not marked. You were simply still here. The realization does not take anything away from you, but it removes something you had begun to build, and in its place, a quieter understanding remains. Being alive is not the same as being different. You start to watch more carefully again. Not the battles, not the commands, but the way everything resets. How quickly absence is replaced. How easily the structure continues, unchanged by who comes or goes. It reminds you of something. Not the field exactly, but the feeling of it. That quiet certainty. That sense that nothing you do truly alters the path beneath you. You follow orders as before, but now your attention lingers on the spaces between them. On the moments where you might expect change, but find none. You begin to see yourself the way the system sees you. Not as a person with a past or a future, but as a function. A role that can be filled, replaced, repeated. The thought does not arrive suddenly. It builds slowly, shaped by every day that looks like the last. And as it settles in, something inside you becomes very still. Not calm, not defeated, just aware. You left the field to become something more. You came here to move forward. But standing here now, in the same rhythm, under different orders, a quiet realization takes shape. You have not escaped the pattern. You have stepped into another version of it. The routine returns fully, as if the battle was only a brief interruption, not a turning point. You wake, you move, you follow. The structure holds, unchanged, absorbing everything that happens within it. At first, you expect something to feel different, something earned, something gained. But nothing shifts. not your place, not your role. The system does not remember what you have done. It only continues to ask what you can do next. You begin to notice how quickly moments lose their meaning here, how even survival becomes just another step in the same pattern. And slowly, a quiet understanding forms. Nothing you experience changes the path you are on. Still, something in you refuses to settle. You begin to look for ways to move beyond this place, not physically, but within it. Small actions, extra effort, careful attention to detail. You follow commands more precisely than before. You anticipate what is needed before it is said. It is subtle, almost invisible, but it is different. And you hold on to it gently, as if it might lead somewhere the routine cannot. The change is small, but it is noticed. Not by everyone, just enough. You are given a task slightly different from the others. Not harder, not easier, just separate. It feels like a step, though you are not sure in which direction. You take it carefully, aware that this moment carries something fragile. You complete the task with focus, repeating it until it becomes as natural as everything else you have learned. And for the first time since you arrived, there is a shift, a glance, a brief acknowledgement. Nothing spoken directly to you, but enough to understand you have been seen. The feeling is quiet, but it spreads through you slowly. This is what you were looking for. Not escape, but movement. The idea settles in, steady and clear. If you continue like this, if you adapt, if you become more useful, you might rise. And with that thought, something returns. Not the resistance you once felt, but a new form of belief. Softer, more controlled. You are still within the system, but perhaps now you can move through it. The more responsibility you are given, the more carefully you begin to act. Every movement becomes intentional, every response measured. You watch those above you, learning not just what they do, but how they do it. The tone of their voice, the timing of their decisions, the distance they keep from those below them. It is not taught directly, but it is clear. There is a way to exist here that is different, more stable, less replaceable. And you begin to shape yourself toward it, slowly, without drawing attention. The others continue as before, moving within the same rhythm, but you feel a slight shift in your position, not visible, but real. You are no longer only following. You are beginning to anticipate, to guide in small ways that almost go unnoticed. And with that, a quiet thought begins to form again. This is how you move forward, not by leaving, but by becoming something else within the system. The idea feels solid, practical, achievable. And for the first time in a long while, the path ahead does not feel closed. It feels possible. The responsibility grows slowly, almost without being announced. A small instruction passed through you instead of around you. A moment where others wait, just briefly, for your signal before moving. It is subtle, but you feel it. The shift in position, the slight change in how you are seen. You carry it carefully, not wanting to lose it, not wanting to draw too much attention to it. You begin to speak less, but with more precision. You move with intention, aware that each action now holds a different weight. And for a while, it feels like progress, like you are stepping beyond what you once were. But as the days continue, you begin to notice something familiar beneath it. The structure has not changed. The commands still come from above. The limits still hold. You are not outside the system.
You are simply placed differently within it. The realization does not stop you. It does not need to. Because even within those limits, there is still movement, still space to rise. And you hold on to that quietly as you continue forward.
The first time you give an order, it feels smaller than you expected. There is no moment of arrival, no clear line crossed. Just a decision, made quickly, passed on without hesitation. And the others follow it. Not because of who you are, but because of where you stand. You notice it immediately. The difference between being told and telling. It carries a strange weight. Not power exactly. Something more controlled, more contained. You watch how easily it happens, how naturally the system allows it. And for a moment, it feels like you have found a way through. A way to shape your path instead of simply walking it. But the feeling does not settle fully. Because as soon as the moment passes, another command arrives, directed at you. Clear, unquestioned. And you follow it just as you expect others to follow yours. The balance becomes visible. You are above some, still below others. And the structure remains intact. The thought forms gently, without resistance. You have moved, but you have not escaped. The realization does not come all at once. It builds quietly through repetition. You give orders, you follow orders. You adjust, you respond, you continue. The pattern reveals itself not in a single moment, but in the way everything fits together. The roles shift slightly, but the system remains unchanged. You begin to see it clearly now. The movement you have been chasing exists, but only within boundaries that never move. You can rise, but only so far. You can change position, but not the structure itself. And as this understanding settles in, something inside you becomes very still. Not discouraged, not defeated, just aware. You remember the field, the road, the city. Each place felt different, each step felt like progress. But the pattern followed you. Or perhaps you followed it. The thought lingers, soft and steady, as you stand in your new position, neither where you began nor where you once hoped to be. Maybe this was never about leaving a place, but about understanding the shape of it. The transition comes without ceremony. No clear ending, no clear beginning. You are simply moved, from one role into another, from the rhythm of the army into something quieter, more structured, less visible. A small position, a minor responsibility. Not important enough to change anything, but enough to place you somewhere new. You leave behind the noise of commands shouted across open ground and step into a different kind of order. One that speaks in records, in decisions, in quiet authority. At first, it feels like distance. Distance from what you endured. Distance from what shaped you. You sit, you observe, you respond when required. The pace is slower, but the structure is still there. Clear, firm, unquestioned. And for a moment, you allow yourself to believe it, that you have moved forward, that this is what you were working toward. Not escape, but elevation. A place where your effort has meaning, where your position reflects something you have become. The thought settles gently, almost comfortably. You are no longer where you started. The first time someone calls you sir, it feels unfamiliar. Not wrong, just distant, as if the word belongs to someone else, someone you have only been observing from afar. You do not react immediately. You simply acknowledge it quietly, letting it pass through you. But the sound remains. It lingers in your thoughts longer than expected. You notice how others respond to you now. A slight pause before speaking, a careful choice of words.
a distance that was not there before. It is subtle, but it shapes everything. You are no longer standing beside them. You are standing slightly above. The difference is small, but it changes how the world moves around you. For a moment, it feels like confirmation, like proof that you've become something different, something more. But as the day continues, you begin to notice something else. The expectations have changed as well. You are still within the system, just in a new position inside it. The word "sir" does not free you. It defines you. And as it repeats again and again, a quiet understanding begins to form. This is not a new world. It is the same one, seen from a different height.
You begin to settle into the role, not because you choose to, but because it shapes you, the same way everything before it has. The tasks are different now, less physical, more controlled. You manage, you observe, you decide small things that affect others in ways you are still learning to understand. At first you approach it carefully, aware of the weight each decision carries. You remember what it felt like to be on the other side, to follow, to endure, to wait. And that memory stays with you, quiet but present. It influences how you act, how you respond, how you hold yourself. But over time, something begins to change. Not suddenly, not sharply, just slowly, as the routine settles in. The decisions become easier. The distance grows. The memory softens. You begin to see people not as individuals, but as roles, positions within a system that requires order more than understanding. And as that shift takes place, a quiet thought emerges, almost unnoticed. You are not just moving within the system anymore. You are beginning to become part of how it works. The land returns to you in a different form, not as something you work, but as something you oversee. Rows of soil stretch out in front of you, familiar in shape, unfamiliar in meaning. Others move across it now, repeating the same motions you once knew without thought. You stand at the edge, watching, aware of the distance that has grown between you and what this place used to be. The tasks come to you as numbers, as expectations, as outcomes that must be met. You walk the field slowly, not to feel it, but to measure it. And as you observe, a quiet realization begins to form. This place has not changed. The rhythm is the same. The effort is the same. Only your position within it has shifted. You are no longer inside the pattern. You are looking at it. And for a moment, that feels like control, like understanding, like something close to freedom. But beneath that feeling, something else remains. The structure still holds. The expectations still come from above. You are not outside it. You are simply placed where you can help maintain it. You notice them more closely now. The workers. The way they move, the way they speak, the way they avoid looking directly at you. There is a familiarity there, something you recognize without needing to name it. It is in their posture, their silence, their steady acceptance of what is given to them. You have seen this before, not from where you stand now, but from within it. And for a brief moment, the memory becomes clear. You see yourself in them, the same rhythm, the same unspoken understanding. It does not last long. The moment passes as quickly as it arrives, because the role you hold does not allow you to remain in that recognition. You have responsibilities now, expectations. You must ensure that the work continues, that the system holds, that nothing falls out of place. And slowly, without force, your attention shifts away from who they are, toward what they must do. The familiarity fades, the distance returns, and with it, a quiet change inside you. They are no longer reflections. They are functions, just as you once were. At first, the discomfort is small, easy to ignore. A slight hesitation before giving an instruction. A brief pause when someone struggles to meet what is required. You feel it in those moments, that connection to something you once understood. But the system does not wait for hesitation. It moves forward, steady and indifferent, expecting you to do the same. You begin to adjust, not by force, but by repetition. Each decision becomes easier than the last, each command more natural. The pause shortens, the hesitation fades, and with time, the discomfort softens into something quieter, something you can set aside when needed. You tell yourself it is necessary, that this is how things work, that without structure, nothing holds. The reasoning is clear, logical, acceptable. And yet, somewhere beneath it, something remains. Not loud, not resisting, just present. A quiet awareness that what once felt wrong now feels normal. And as that awareness settles in, a subtle shift completes itself. You are no longer adapting to the system. You are beginning to think like it. The numbers begin to matter more than the people. At first, you do not notice when the shift happens. It comes gradually through repeated decisions, through small adjustments that make your work easier, clearer, more efficient. You are given targets, yields to maintain, quotas that must be met, not because you understand them, but because they are expected. You begin to track them carefully, watching how each action affects the outcome. And slowly, your attention changes. You no longer see the field as movement and effort, but as results. You no longer see individuals, but contributions. It feels cleaner this way, simpler, less uncertain. And with that simplicity comes a quiet sense of control. You can measure progress. You can adjust what is not working. You can ensure that what is required is delivered. But beneath that clarity, something else fades. Something you do not immediately miss. The memory of what it felt like to be inside the work, rather than above it. And as that memory softens, a quiet realization forms. You are not just part of the system. You are helping define how it sees. You begin to justify your decisions more easily now, not to others, but to yourself. When someone struggles, you remind yourself that the system must continue. When someone falls behind, you think of balance, of fairness, of the need to treat all positions equally. The reasoning is always there, ready, structured, complete. It leaves little room for doubt. And over time, you stop questioning it. Not because you are certain, but because certainty is not required, only function. The work becomes smoother, the days more predictable. The tension you once felt begins to fade, replaced by a steady rhythm that asks nothing more than consistency. And in that rhythm, something settles inside you, a kind of quiet alignment. You are no longer resisting the system, you are moving with it. The thought does not feel heavy. It feels natural, as if this is where you were always meant to arrive. And yet, somewhere beneath that calm, something remains. A faint memory, a distant awareness. Not strong enough to interrupt, but not gone, just waiting. The rule is simple. It comes from above, passed down without explanation, without room for change. You receive it as you receive all things now, clearly, directly, without hesitation. It must be applied to everyone, without exception. At first, it seems straightforward.
another instruction, another adjustment to maintain order. But as you begin to carry it out, you notice something different. Not in the rule itself, but in what it requires from you. There is no space for interpretation, no room for understanding individual circumstances, only application. You move through the process carefully, ensuring that everything is done as expected. And as you do, you feel that quiet distance again, not from the system, but from yourself. The part of you that once paused, that once hesitated, that once saw more than what was required, it grows quieter. Not gone, just set aside. Because here, in this role, there is no place for it. The system does not ask who you are. It asks what you will enforce. And as you complete the task, step by step, without deviation, a quiet truth settles in. You are no longer just following the system. You are carrying it forward.
The system does not speak, but it corrects, quietly, precisely. A decision you make, small and almost unnoticeable, returns to you in the form of a warning. Not harsh, not loud, just clear enough to understand. You review what happened, retracing your steps, searching for the moment where you moved slightly outside what was expected. And you find it. A brief hesitation. A small adjustment made for someone who needed it. It seemed reasonable at the time, human. But here, reason is not measured that way. You understand it now, not as a mistake in judgment, but as a misalignment. You adjust, not because you are forced to, but because the system leaves no space for anything else. The next time, you do not hesitate. The next time, you follow exactly. And nothing returns to correct you. The absence of response becomes its own signal. This is how it is done. And as that understanding settles in, something inside you shifts again. Not in resistance, but in acceptance. One day, a man steps forward. Not out of place, not disruptive, just desperate. You recognize it immediately, even before he speaks. The way his voice lowers, the way his posture changes, the way he tries to hold on to something that is already slipping away. He asks for time, for leniency, for understanding. The words are simple, but they carry a weight you remember. You listen without interruption. You allow him to finish. And for a brief moment, everything becomes very still. The field, the past, the version of yourself that once stood in that same position. It all returns, clear and present. You know what this feels like. You know what it means to ask. And yet, when the moment comes to respond, you do not step outside the role you now hold. You answer as the system requires. Calm, direct, unchanged. The man lowers his head. The moment ends, and the work continues. But as you turn away, something lingers. Not regret, not doubt, just a quiet awareness. You understood him completely, and still did nothing differently. That night, the silence feels heavier than usual. Not because something is wrong, but because something has settled into place. You sit alone, without distraction, without the movement that usually fills your thoughts. And in that stillness, the memory returns. Not of the man, but of yourself. Standing in a different place, asking in a different voice, hoping for something that was never given. You follow the memory carefully, not pushing it away, not holding on to it, just observing it as it moves through you. And as it fades, you notice what remains. Not emotion, not conflict, just clarity. You see the pattern now, more clearly than before. How each position shapes what you can do. how each role defines what is allowed. You once believed that rising would change that moving forward would give you freedom. But now, sitting in the quiet, you understand something deeper. The system does not change as you move through it. It changes you. And as that thought settles, calm and complete, a final piece falls into place. You are no longer trying to escape it.
The next day unfolds as all the others do, steady and uninterrupted. You move through your tasks with the same clarity, the same control, the same quiet distance you have come to rely on. But something has shifted beneath it. Not in your actions, in your awareness. You notice it in small moments, in how quickly you respond, in how naturally you apply what is expected. There is no hesitation now, no pause, and that absence feels complete. For a time, it even feels like ease. But as the hours pass, a subtle question begins to rise, not from doubt, but from observation. If there is no resistance, then what remains of choice? The thought does not disturb you. It does not need to. It simply sits there, quiet and steady, as you continue your work. And slowly, you begin to see it more clearly. The system no longer needs to correct you, because you have already aligned with it.
The pattern repeats again, just as it always has. A request, a response, a decision made within boundaries that no longer feel visible, because you know them too well. You move through it without effort, without thought, completing what is required before the moment even fully forms. Others watch you now, the same way you once watched those above you, learning, adapting, becoming. You see it in their eyes, in the way they follow, in the way they begin to shape themselves around the structure you represent. And for a brief moment, something becomes clear. You are no longer just inside the system. You are part of how it continues. The realization is not heavy. It is not resisted. It settles into you the same way everything else has, naturally, quietly, as if it has always been waiting to be understood. And with that, a simple truth follows. The system does not need to force itself on you. It only needs you to carry it forward.
The days no longer feel like steps forward. They feel like continuation. Smooth, predictable, complete. You no longer look for change, because there is nothing left to change within the path you have taken. The position you hold is stable, defined, understood. And in that stability, something settles fully into place. The search that once drove you, the quiet belief that there was somewhere else to reach, it fades. Not suddenly, not completely, just enough to no longer guide you. You sit with that feeling, observing it without judgment. You have moved far from where you began, through different roles, different structures, different expectations. And yet the pattern has remained, not outside you, but within everything you stepped into. The realization is calm, final. There is no tension left in it, only understanding. And as you continue, without resistance, without urgency, a quiet thought closes the distance between past and present. You did not escape the system. You became a part of its shape. The return is not planned. It happens as part of your duty, a simple movement across land that once held your entire life. The road feels smaller now, or perhaps you've grown used to distances that do not belong to memory. When the village appears, it does not surprise you. It waits, unchanged, exactly as it has always been. The fields stretch out in the same quiet pattern. The paths remain where they were. Even the air feels familiar, steady, unbroken by time.
You step forward slowly, not as someone coming home, but as someone observing what once defined them. Nothing asks you to stay. Nothing asks you to leave. It simply exists. And as you walk along the edge of the field, a quiet realization begins to form. This place has not been holding you. It has been repeating itself. You stand where you once stood, though not in the same way. The ground beneath your feet feels the same, but your position within it has changed completely. You watch the workers move through their tasks, the same motions you once followed without question. Their rhythm is steady, their silence familiar. And for a moment, time seems to fold inward, bringing past and present together in a single, quiet frame. You are no longer inside it, but you recognize it fully. There is no anger in that recognition, no regret, just clarity. The pattern continues, untouched by your absence, unaffected by everything you have become. And in that stillness, something becomes very clear. Nothing here ever needed you to remain. It only needed someone to take your place. A child pauses at the edge of the field, not close enough to interrupt, just near enough to observe. You notice him because of the way he looks at you. Not with fear, not with understanding, but with something quieter, curiosity shaped by distance. He studies your posture, your clothing, the way you stand apart from everything around you. And in that gaze, something shifts. You recognize it immediately. The same quiet attention you once gave to someone passing by. The same sense that something else might exist beyond what is known. The moment is brief, almost fragile. The child says nothing, neither do you. But the connection forms anyway, silent and complete. And as he turns back toward the field, returning to the rhythm that will shape him, a thought settles gently into place. The pattern is already beginning again. You remain at the edge a little longer than necessary, not because there is more to see, but because what you see is enough. The field continues without interruption. The workers move in steady lines. The child blends back into the rhythm as if he had never stepped out of it. And in that quiet continuity, something becomes undeniable. This is not a place that changes. It is a place that repeats. You feel it now, not as an idea, but as something complete. You once believed you were leaving this behind, that distance would break the pattern. But standing here, watching it continue without you, the truth settles gently into place. The pattern was never tied to the land. It moves through people, through roles, through time. And as you step away, turning back toward the path you came from, a quiet understanding follows you. You did not leave the pattern. You carried it with you. The thought stays with you as you return to your duties. It does not interrupt what you do. It moves alongside it, quiet and steady, reshaping how you see each moment. You begin to notice the same pattern everywhere now. In the way orders are given, in the way people respond, in the way positions shift without ever breaking the structure beneath them. It is not hidden. It never was. You simply did not see it clearly before. And with that clarity comes a subtle change. You begin to act slightly differently, not outside the system, but within it. You allow a small delay where there was none before. You choose a softer tone where none is required. It is almost nothing, almost invisible, but it is different. And for a brief moment, it feels like you are doing something the pattern did not expect, something that belongs to you, not to the role. The feeling is quiet, but it stays. The response comes quickly, though not in the way you might expect. There is no confrontation, no direct correction. Only a shift. a subtle adjustment that reminds you, without words, where the boundaries are. A decision questioned, a tone noticed, a reminder delivered through structure, not through voice. You understand it immediately. The system does not need to stop you forcefully. It only needs to guide you back into alignment. You feel the limit again, clear and firm, just as it has always been. The space you thought you found narrows. The difference you tried to create fades into the rhythm that surrounds it. And slowly, you return to what is expected. Not because you agree, but because there is no place for anything else to remain. The thought lingers, though, quiet, unresolved. You see the pattern clearly now, and still, you cannot step outside it. The warning settles into you without resistance, not because it is accepted, but because it is understood. You move through your tasks as before, restoring the rhythm, aligning your actions with what is expected. The system responds in kind. Everything continues smoothly, without interruption, as if nothing had ever shifted. And yet, something remains. A quiet awareness that does not fade. You see the pattern now in full, not as something outside you, but as something you move within at every moment. It does not force you. It does not need to. It simply defines the space in which you exist. You follow it again, not blindly but clearly. And in that clarity, a subtle question forms. Not how to escape it, but whether escape was ever possible. You begin to observe yourself the way you once observed others. The timing of your decisions, the precision of your responses, the way your thoughts align almost instantly with what is required. It happens without effort now, without pause. And as you watch it unfold, a quiet realization settles in. You are no longer adapting to the system. You are anticipating it. The pattern no longer surrounds you. It moves through you. The idea is not unsettling. It is complete. You understand your place, your role, your function, with a clarity that leaves no space for confusion. And yet, within that understanding, something else becomes visible. Not a way out, but a different kind of awareness. You cannot step outside the system, but you can see it entirely. And that changes something, not in your position, but in how you exist within it. The question returns, but not as it once did. It no longer asks where to go or how to change. It asks something quieter, more precise. What does it mean to be free inside something that cannot be escaped? You carry the question with you as you move, not searching for an answer, but allowing it to settle into the spaces between your actions. You begin to notice small moments differently now. The pauses, the choices that still exist, even within limits. The way you speak, the way you listen, the way you see others who are still inside the pattern without knowing it. These moments do not break the system. They do not change your position, but they feel real, personal, untouched by the structure that surrounds them. And slowly, a new understanding begins to form. Perhaps freedom is not something given by position, but something held quietly within it. The question does not leave you. It moves with you, steady and quiet, shaping the way you see everything without needing an answer. You continue your duties, unchanged from the outside, but within each action there is now a space, small but clear. A space where you notice, where you choose, even if the choice is limited. You begin to understand something that once felt impossible. The system defines what you can do, but not how you understand it. You watch others move through their roles, unaware of the pattern that holds them, just as you once were.
and there is no urge to change them, no desire to break anything. Only a quiet clarity that settles deeper with each passing day. You cannot step outside what surrounds you, but you are no longer lost inside it. And that difference, though invisible, feels real.
The idea of changing everything fades naturally, not as a loss, but as a release. You no longer measure your life against what could have been, or what might still be possible. The need to escape, to rise, to move beyond, it softens, dissolving into something quieter. You continue your work, but without the tension that once followed every step. The system remains, the roles remain. Nothing outside you has changed, and yet something inside you has settled. You are no longer pushing against the shape of your life. You are moving within it, aware, present, without resistance. The thought feels simple now. Not everything must be changed to be understood.
Days pass without urgency, not because time has slowed, but because you are no longer chasing it. You complete what is required, step by step, without adding anything that does not belong. The rhythm is the same as it has always been, but it no longer feels like something you are trapped inside. It feels like something you are moving through. You notice more now. The quiet details, the moments that once passed without meaning. A gesture, a pause, a breath taken between actions. None of it alters your position, but all of it becomes visible in a way it never was before. And in that visibility, there's a quiet sense of space, not outside the system, but within your experience of it.
You return to the field again, though this time there is no task that requires it. The land is unchanged, as it always has been. The rhythm continues, as it always will. You walk along its edge, not as someone observing, not as someone remembering, but simply as someone present. The past does not press against you here. It rests quietly, without weight. You see the workers, the patterns, the same movements that once defined everything. And there is no distance now, not above, not below, just understanding. You recognize the shape of it, not as something to resist, but as something that exists, independent of your place within it. And as you stand there, the thought that once felt so heavy returns again, but lighter now. The pattern continues, with or without you. The sun lowers slowly, casting long shadows across the land. You sit, not because you are tired, but because there is nothing pulling you elsewhere. The world moves as it always does. The system holds as it always will. And for the first time, you do not measure yourself against it. You do not compare where you are to where you began. You do not ask what comes next. The questions that once guided you have grown quiet. Not unanswered, but no longer needed. You feel the stillness settle around you, not as emptiness, but as something complete. Something that does not require change to be understood. And in that stillness, you notice something simple. You are not searching anymore. Night begins to settle over the field, soft and steady, just as it did when your life first began here. The air cools, the movement fades. The pattern continues, unseen but unchanged. You remain where you are, not because you cannot leave, but because there is nowhere you need to go. The journey that once felt so urgent, so necessary, has come to rest without a clear ending. Not in victory, not in failure, just in understanding. You did not escape the pattern. You did not break it. You moved through it, and in doing so, you came to see it clearly. And as that clarity settles into you, calm and complete, a final thought remains, quiet, steady, and enough. Perhaps freedom was never about leaving, but about no longer needing to.